Hello, welcome to the lecture. We will be discussing a topic from Unit 1, which is errors and its types, of course. So first of all, let us start by taking into account the structure of a C program or the steps involved in program developing. So in the process of developing any program, there's one phase where we all need to handle with something called as errors or bugs. So there's a phase called as debugging, which deals with errors and handling errors. So basically today's topic is all about handling errors. In case if we want to handle errors, it's very important for us to understand what is an error and how to deal with it and what are its types. So therefore we will go and first learn about the definition of an error. So how do we define an error? Error is basically a situation that has arisen in a program which causes the program not to run or which makes the program halt. So any situation which makes the program to halt and not run and not give output is known as error. So error is essentially a situation in a program which makes your program not run, not give you output, and stops the working of your program, or halts your program. So therefore any situation which halts the program execution or is known as an error. Error is a situation in a programming language which halts program execution. So therefore it is very essential for us to remove errors in order to make the program run and produce output. So therefore if you would wish to get the output of your program need to run. In other words, your program need to have no errors. So therefore the process of removing errors in a program is known as debugging. So debugging is a process of finding out errors and removing them. So what are the types of errors? So if we talk about a C program, essentially there are basically three types of errors: syntax errors, logical errors, runtime errors. Or in other words, we essentially can define them into runtime and compile time. So how do you define compile time errors? So errors which are observed during compilation of a program are known as compile time errors, errors which are only understood during the runtime of a program are known as runtime errors. So a few runtime errors include divided by zero. Divided by zero gives you infinity, which is wrong in any kind of operations. Divided by zero. The second one is array index out of bounds. In C, arrays knows no boundaries, so array index out of bounds. Array index out of bounds is also a runtime error. These are a few examples of runtime errors: divided by zero, array index out of bounds, square root of a negative number. All these are runtime errors. So what about compile time errors? Compile time errors are the errors which are solved during compile time. They are basically, you can also classify them as syntax errors. Syntax errors. So what is a syntax error? Syntax in a C program is a structure that is followed according to the rules of language C. So if there is any statement in a C program which violates the rules of language C, then that is called as an instruction which is against the rules of a C language, and therefore that throws an error. So therefore, example, there's one standard rule in C which says the keywords must not be used as variable names. So therefore if I write example float int, this would throw an error because int is a keyword. And also there's another rule in C language which says the keywords must always be written in small letters. So for example, if I write int a, this is a valid syntax in C. But in case if I write int a as a declaration statement to declare a as an integer, then this is wrong because I is capital, which is not allowed and which is against the rule of language C. So such instructions which we write which are against the rules of language C are called as syntax errors. Syntax errors are easily identified during compilation of a program because C compiler easily identifies what is not against its rule, so therefore it lists out all those syntax errors. So coming back to the next one, that is logical errors. So logic is a part of a program. Logic is the heart of a program which executes your program to get your output. So for example, if we write a program to add two numbers, this is essentially the logic that we write to add two numbers a and b. But for example, in a hurry, imagine if I just wrote C is equal to a minus b. and run my program with the inputs A as 5 and B as 3, instead of getting C is equal to 8, which is the expected answer, I will be getting the answer as C is equal to 2, because in a hurry we ended up writing C is equal to A minus B, which is used for subtracting two numbers, not adding two numbers. So therefore this is not listed by the compiler, because it is okay for the computer if you write A minus B or if you write A plus B. This kind of logical errors are not identified by the compiler, but are only identified by looking at the output. So once you get the output, you validate your output to check if it is correct or not. But your answer do not support the right answer, which is 8, because the sum of 5 and 3 is 8, not 2. So therefore you get back to your program, check the logic in your program, then you realize that instead of writing A plus B, we ended up writing A minus B. So therefore we write A plus B again. And when you run with the modified code, you get the answer as C is equal to 8. And this kind of errors are called as logical errors, which are observed or identified by looking at the output. On the other hand, there are so many other errors which are also known as semantic errors, which hinder the meaning of the program. So let us now take a tour to check out what are all the errors available in C language. How do we get over errors? So therefore, here we go. Let's study about the syntax and logical errors in compilation. So error is an illegal operation performed by the user which results in an abnormal working of a program. Normal is a program tend to give you right output. Abnormal implies program gives you an output which you don't expect. So they are syntax errors, runtime errors, and logical errors. Syntax occurs when you don't conform to the grammar of the programming language. When you violate the rules of the language, what comes as a syntax error? So types of syntax errors, example, you don't give them exactly what you needed, you don't terminate them with a semicolon, all this kind of errors. Runtime errors, you divided by 0 is a prominent runtime error. Linker errors also forms as one type of runtime errors. You use a function from a header file and do not list the header file in the definition section, then obviously you will get a linker error, and linker errors make the program halt. That might be a problem with the functions that you use. So then comes logical errors. As we all discussed, logical error is some missing part of the logic which don't get you the right output, that is only observed by looking at the output. On the other hand, there's something else called as semantic errors which hinder the meaning of the language. This is one of the semantic error. Semantics is meanings. When I generally see this statement, we all generally feel it as A and B are added and stored in C. But for C, this is ulta. In C, the right way of writing it is C is equal to A plus B. This makes sense in C language or a program instruction, not A plus B is equal to C. So this kind of statements which might mean okay to us and not mean okay to a computer, which hinder the meaning of an instruction to a computer, are called as semantic errors, which has a difference in the meaning of what they mean to a computer. So this is C is equal to A plus B. So these are a few of the examples of errors that we tend to see in our day-to-day life when we run programs in C language. We'll take up a program and just check out and run a few examples to see what are all the examples of few errors that we can list out. So CLRSCR is a function which is available in conio.h. So first of all, this is a program which runs all fine with no errors and gives the output as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 10. So now let's make out a few changes. So the first prominent error that we all see is missing semicolon. So there are a few errors that we see. Missing semicolon. So I don't terminate an instruction with a semicolon, which is against the language C rule. So therefore I compile my program, I get to find statement missing semicolon. This is one of the prominent syntax errors that we get to see by the compiler. So go back and make your program. Any changes you make, you always got to save. So another example is I'm using CLRSCR, so therefore I don't list out conio.h. So save your program, compile your program, run your program. Okay, conio.h is pre-implied here. So I use something else. So let's keep it Alt F, save. Alt-C compile, Alt-R run. Okay. So you have to have an answer. So when you find a standard file missing, example, let us use a function sqrt which is available in mat.h. So I want to find out sqrt of 5. So printf /n %f comma sqrt of 5. So a function which is available in mat.h. Save your code, compile and run. 0.000, it's not throwing an error, but you get the right answer provided you only include mat.h. In some compilers it is clearly an error, so in my machine it's not showing, but it might show to you as an error, so therefore be very careful. Compile and run. Now got the answer, 2.236 something else. So this is how it is. My machine it's not showing an error, but your machine it might show you an error, so be very careful. And let's also try to find out what is the answer of sum divided by 0 operation. So I write 5 by 0. Let's check out what does this give us. Alt F save, Alt-C compile, division by 0. This is a warning here, but when you read your values to your keyboard, it will definitely be an error, a runtime error. So be very careful. So these are a few errors that we can see in a C program execution. So save. This is how you got to handle. So the compilers these days are good enough. They list you all the errors, including the line number. So be very careful. Check out the line number. Go back and verify what might have been wrong with the instruction there. Check out instruction. Also kindly ensure that the previous instruction and the next instruction both are in proper order. So for example, anytime if I miss a semicolon, the error is shown basically in the next line. So just go back, kindly ensure that your before line and the after line are also syntactically correct, terminated by a semicolon, properly in the proper syntax, and then you can do that. So lastly, we will just take it out. This is int and then see if this is all fine or not with C compiler. It's not fine with a C compiler. It says undefined symbol int. Here we go. Undefined symbol int, because you can't use anything else for a predefined word. So many compilers modern days, many editors modern days have this color coding which clearly differentiates your keywords with non-keywords, your printf statements with text, etc. So it's good when you use an editor which supports with all that color coding. It will be very helpful for us in the beginning stage to differentiate between everything. When something is not color coded properly, we can realize that there is a mistake in the instruction that we have written. We can go back and check it out. So these are a few tips from my side, and by checking out the errors and the process of removing errors is essentially known as debugging. And on this note, we'll close our topic, errors in compilation. Thank you.